They say fate works in the weirdest ways, but honestly, if you told me 6 months ago that a billionaire control freak like me would end up sharing a hotel suite one bed, mind you with a woman who packs enough for a 3-day trip to survive the apocalypse and insists on dancing barefoot in hallways. I have told you to get lost. I hated weddings, always have. The fake smiles, the endless group photos, the awkward small talk with people you'd cross the street to avoid give me a break. But when your best friend asks you to be his best man, and his future wife double books your suite with her best friend, you don't say no. You just grit your teeth and deal, even if your billions can't buy you out of it. That's how I, Damian Blake Mister. I planned my life to the minute, teamed it up, standing at the front desk of some fancy resort, listening to a desk clerk explain that my suite was being shared. With Miss Ariel Monroe, she says like that meant something. All I could think was, great, just what I needed, a hurricane in heels and a laugh loud enough to turn heads in 3 zip codes. The first time I really saw Ariel Monroe, she was sprawled across the couch in a robe, with a clay face mask on, grinning at her phone like she'd just heard the world's best joke. She looked up, didn't miss a beat, and said, "Oh, you're the mystery roommate? Emily warned me about you, kind of proving her right. You know what I mean? Some people just crash into your world without even asking." She didn't care that I was Damian Blake, didn't even blink when I mentioned my job or where I lived. She called herself a body-positive fashion influencer, talked about wellness like it was a superpower, and lived so out loud, it made me wonder if I'd ever really lived at all. We argued over the bed she claimed the couch, said she snored, winked, and told me to lighten up. I couldn't tell if I was annoyed or impressed. Probably both. The first night was hell. Back to back on the same king bed, pillow wall in the middle, her breathing steady, the smell of her vanilla candle everywhere. She teased me about breathing too loud. I laughed in spite of myself. That laugh, the way it filled the darkness, chipped away at the walls I'd built. I told her I was just careful, and she said that sounded lonely. No one ever called me lonely before. Not really. But as I stared at the ceiling, I wondered if she was right. It's wild what a stranger can see in you before you even see it in yourself. The next morning, I found myself at a bridesmaid's brunch, staring at a neon-colored fruit parfait like it might attack me. Ariel waved me over, sunglasses on her head, dressed bright enough to wake the dead. She made fun of how tense I looked. I fired back about guava pancakes. For the first time in forever, I actually felt awake. Not just going through the motions, but present. Later, as we walked back to the room, Ariel admitted to Googling me. I wasn't even surprised. She joked about my money. I joked about her being late. The banter, the way we bounced off each other, it was like sparring with someone who actually enjoyed getting hit. Everything came to a head at the beach volleyball game. I planned to skip it, but Jake, my best friend, dragged me out. Ariel was already there, stretching like she was about to win gold at the Olympics. The game was chaos. She spiked the ball at me, screamed for me to keep up, and when I collapsed beside her after, breathless, she handed me water and said I wasn't so bad when I stopped being myself. She was the opposite of every woman I'd ever dated, nothing cold or calculating, just wild, genuine, and unafraid. In that moment, under the sun, I realized I didn't want to go back to my old life. Not really. That night, after the rehearsal dinner, we ended up slow dancing beneath the lanterns. I'm not a dancer. She didn't care. She pulled me in, pressed close, called me out for staring. I told her I was trying to figure her out. She laughed, told me good luck. There was this electricity between us, something dangerous, something real. We almost kissed, but someone bumped into us, champagne spilled, and she slipped away for air. Later, on the balcony, with the waves crashing and the world gone quiet, I found her again. She called me out for always controlling the temperature in every room. Said some people were built to light fires, not just keep things cool. She wasn't wrong. I admitted I'd built my life so tight, there was no room for anything unpredictable, especially not feelings. She stepped closer, brushed her hand against mine, and suddenly we were kissing. No soft music, no perfect timing, just heat and honesty and a wild relief, like I'd been waiting to breathe for years. Of course, real life barged in, Jake knocking, late-night poker games, the chaos of wedding weekend. But that moment stuck with me. Ariel, in all her too muchness, made me feel everything I'd worked so hard to avoid. She confessed that she'd always been too loud, too curvy, too much for men who couldn't handle her whole self. I told her they were fools. She squeezed my hand and said maybe it was time for two people afraid to fall to just fall one step at a time. The wedding day came. I watched Ariel glide down the aisle in lavender silk, her smile lighting up the whole damn beach. During the reception, we danced in front of every Nino hiding, no hesitation. When I kissed her, right there under the fairy lights, people stared. I didn't care. For once, I wanted to be seen. When the night was over, Jake announced room changes Ariel was getting her own suite. Our accidental roommate situation was ending. I turned to her and, instead of letting the moment die, asked her to come to New York. A week, a month, whatever, let's just see. She laughed, called me dramatic, but her eyes said yes before her mouth did. I offered to go to her instead. Her rules, her city. Beignet in jazz and chaos. She grinned and told me I'd hate it. I said I'd love it, as long as she was there. A week later, there she was at JFK, sunglasses on her head, suitcase in hand. I met her at the gate, coffee ready, and that smile, that damn smile, made me feel like anything was possible. We walked out into Manhattan together, chaos and order side by side, daring the world to say something. 6 months down the line, she stood in my penthouse window, city lights reflecting off her curves, coffee steaming in her hands, my hoodie hanging on her shoulders. She turned to me, key in hand, and said she was keeping her New Orleans place but moving in here part-time. Mostly I'm choosing you, she said. I took the key, pressed it back in her palm, and told her she was the best unexpected roommate I ever had. She laughed and called me the most annoying billionaire she'd ever loved. We kissed as the sunrise painted the city gold, 2 cups cooling behind us, and for the first time in my life, I felt whole. Look, sometimes love doesn't knock, it crashes through your door, messes up your perfect plans, and dares you to let go. Sometimes, what you need most is exactly what you never saw coming. So, what do you think? In a one-room mistake turn into a once-in-a-lifetime love? Or is it just a fluke of timing and circumstance? I want to hear your take. What's your roommate story? Or what would you risk for a shot at something real? Drop a comment. Argue with me. Tell me who's right and who's wrong about love and timing. Because honestly, that's where the real stories begin.